They have the tools, and you let them go. But never with chaos. Never just close. Okay, you can go now. As a parent, you're always in the picture. As a parent, you're always in the background. Always. You always be there as long as you have your health, your sanity, you are not incapacitated, you have to be there for your kids, always. You are the role model, you are the companionship that they always need. So even they are living away from you, you always stay in touch with them. Checking and spying. I like this one. Many parents feel bad. Am I spying on my daughter? Am I spying on my son? What is spying? What's the difference between checking and spying? Check the dictionary. The word spying means you gather information. You gather information and you take that information to a third party in exchange for some monetary gain or benefit. That's what spying is. You gather information secretly, and you take that information, you exchange it with a third party, and you get paid, you get a lot of money, Are you doing that to your kids? So you're not spying on your kids. Don't worry about it. You're not working for the CIA or the FBI on your kids. At least not at this point. There was a time, there was a part in the world, for those of us who are news with the iron curtail, that was being done. But we have to not do that. So you're not, but you have to change. If you have a teenager or a teenage girl, teenage daughter, teenage son in your home, and at some point you feel that he or she is acting a little bit offline, and you don't go in that room, you don't check that room, you don't check it for drugs paraphernalia. If you yourself as a parent don't know what is drug paraphernalia, then educate yourself. You're dreaming. You're dreaming. If your son tells you, "Mom, get out of my room, that's my room," and he locks the door, you have a huge problem. Because you got to tell him, "Excuse me, whose room is that?" He will tell you, "My room." When did you buy it? Where is your deed? Where is your deed? Show me your deed.
That's a good idea.
This is mommy's house, this is mom and my house. This is our house, this is our room. You don't lock it. We as your parent, we reserve the right to come in anytime we want without a ceremony or an invitation. You need to make that very clear. That has to be very clear. And you give them, you let them stay in their room, they can close the door. But the fact that they know you can do that is the best deterrent you can have. They know you can go in that, check the drawers, check everything. Otherwise, if you don't build that, then yes, you will have a problem. Okay? So you need to make clear. One day, inshallah, my son, you buy your home, you can lock any room you want. But as long as you live under my roof, no room is locked. I lock room. I have the key, not you. You make that very clear at a very young age, because that's what they learn. All right? You have to understand them, that's what they learn, especially after they leave this school, they go into high school. That's what they learn. That's what their friends are doing. Right? So you need to understand that. And I came to the family, I forgot that. I go back to the slide where we say family of government. Many times your kids will tell you, "But hey, I know so-and-so is doing that. Well, I can't do that." Then you need to let them know, "Hey, that's done in their government. In my government, it's not done." Each government has their own rule. Each government has their own law. You live under this government. You don't live under that government. That government doesn't pay your school, doesn't buy your clothes, doesn't buy your food. This is the government that buys your food. So laws varies. It doesn't mean if somebody, because every family has their own, and that's the biggest problem you will have when you go with Muslim families and there are contradicting standards. There are contradicting standards to yours. Now you are in trouble. And if you explain that ahead of time, it's up to you. I'm not going to go into detail whether you should or you should not, what you should. That you have to decide as a family. But I'm just saying is when you see a contradicting standard to yours, you need to explain that to your kids. Advising and comparing. Nasiha, our deen is a nasiha, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us, we have to advise. But sometimes when we do advice, you know what we do? We compare with others. Do not compare your child to anybody's child or to your other sibling. The worst thing you can do. Each child is a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Each child is a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not compare the child. Oh, look at the daughters of my son, of my brother. Look at the son of my uncle, how they are doing. Or compare between the same house. Look at your brother, look at your sister. Do not raise one kid in your family at the expense of the other. Please don't. Please don't. Please don't do that. Because when you do that, you hurt the kid. When you do that, you erode their self-esteem, their self-confidence, and they will not do well if you keep pounding on them. If you keep doing that, you are hurting them and hurting them. Be sure that you do not compare your kids. Praise them for what they do, correct them for what they do wrong, but do not compare them. Kids are not to be compared. There's a concept in ethics we call be consistent. Ethics presence, it is called. A lot of families got to learn how problem with that. Today I was talking to a father, and that's what he told me in his word. Well, I discipline them whenever I feel. But you can't. You can't do that. You know, again, the Prophet ﷺ told us, who is a better person? The person who reads Surah Ikhlas every night, or the person who reads Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Imran, then he leaves it for 1 or 2 months, then he comes back to it. Who is better? The person who reads Surah Al-Ikhlas every night. Do little, but be consistent. Be consistent. When you draw your boundaries of your family, like the teachers who say, don't eat in the classroom. Don't eat in the classroom when he's drinking his tea. You have teachers who do that. Yeah? Don't eat in there. Raise your hand before you ask a question. And guess what? He or she asks a question, Muhammad raises his hand, and Muhammad is ignored, and the other one gets the answer without raising his hand. So when you make a rule on the wall, you live by it. You live by it. It's not only for the classroom, it's in the home too. So make sure you're consistent. Kids they're very manipulative. They will play with you. They will test you. No, but you got to be consistent. In our family, for example, when we have dinner, the TV is off. An example. You got to live by it. No, if there is your favorite movie, you put it on when we are eating. It doesn't go by that way. It doesn't go by that way. You got to stay. If you have to break it, for example, little Aisha is sick and is not without an appetite, then you want to her to eat, then you want to put the TV on, and then you let her know, I am breaking that rule today because you are not feeling well. You are sick. That's why I'm doing that. Because kids understand now you broke that rule for one very specific reason, I am not feeling well. But you tell them tomorrow the rule is on. So it's very important before, never put rules that you can't live by. You do that, I'll throw you out of the house. You see, fathers say that a lot, especially fathers. You say that a lot. You do that, I'll throw you out of the house. Well, throw him out. He does it, what do you do? Where will you throw him? In the garbage? You put something that you can't live by. Right? So be very careful. Put rules, put regulations, put boundaries that you can enforce, that you can go by. Communication, this is a big term. No? When Siraj Wahaj one time was talking, and it's kind of, may Allah bless him. As you know, his health is not good. May Allah give him the shifa, inshallah. He's a great, he has done a lot for this community. Everybody knows Imam Siraj Wahaj here? So one time he was speaking and he said in a study or something like that, he found out, you know how many hours in 24 hours parents talk to their kids? Less than 1 hour, around 1 hour. In 24 hours, you have less than 1 hour or around an hour to talk to your kids. So we are not talking to our kids. And the question I have is, if we as parents are not talking to our kids, then who are talking to our kids? So you got to be very careful of that. We have to talk to our kids. You have to create time. The best time perhaps is the dinner table, dinner conversation. You've got to be, and I know, I am not cultured. I grew up in the little France in Africa. so I don't have cultural anger. So I know many of you, whether you're from Pakistan, Afghanistan, or Middle East, you have